everyone. This is Gayle. Welcome to our Saturday night live stream. And we are joined today by Lori, who's going to tell us all about her experiences with her son and car camping and the great outdoors and what she learned. I'm going to turn this off here on my end. What she learned, what she wants to share, some funny stories, all about, let's see, that's, I think, on your end.
I just had it. Thank you.
So all kinds of things like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I just invite you all to sit back, relax, answer questions, and all that stuff. Let's see. We have been joined already by, guess who? Regine. And we have Tanya, Peter Parker, a.k.a. Spider-Man the Hero. Busy Lady is here. So hi, Busy Lady. Welcome you all. Let's see. Peter Parker says Gayle is late 2 minutes. I've got 1 minute. So, okay. Sorry about that. Lori and I were just doing some housekeeping stuff there.
Yeah.
She says, how is one? I see that. Oh, ads. Okay. So thank you for watching the ads. I need the money. So I'll just, that 1% of 1 penny is, adds up. All right. So here we are tonight. I'm just going to let you kind of introduce yourself and start telling us whatever you'd like to tell us. And y'all ask questions. I'm going to be popping them up on screen since I'm using StreamYard tonight. Okay. All right. Here we go. Lori.
Yeah, I'm the silly lady. Yourself. The silly lady that went camping for a year with my 3-year-old. And it didn't take me too long to make that decision, but it is obviously kind of crazy. So where I might not recommend it all the time, there's instances where it might come in very handy. So in my case, it did. I just wanted to take off with my son. I wanted peace in our lives. And I camped so much as a kid, so I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. So I just kind of made a list of things and went and got, I think it was a 2 to 4 sleeper dome tent camper.
Oh, wow. One of the big ones.
Well, no, it wasn't that big, actually.
Really?
I got a mattress, a blow-up air mattress, and I didn't think my 3-year-old would sleep on the ground. And there was probably about that much space in between. And a sleeping bag, and I don't think I had any cooking things. I got just a few things and just loaded up my car and we took off. And there's a photo of my kid in his sunglasses when we got to one of the campgrounds. He just did not want to take his sunglasses off. He felt this was like the coolest thing. So I had like no electricity at the campgrounds that I went to. They were state campgrounds. No electricity, no running water, no refrigeration, of course. So, I mean, I had like ice blocks and a cooler, and that's how I kept my food cold. And that's what we had. I had a car and it had this little dome tent.
So right now, car camping, tent camping, RV life, van life, all of that is really, really hot right now. A lot of people are interested in it. They're just really getting into it. Some because they just love the outdoors and that's what they want to do with their kids. Some are being kind of forced into it, but by financial reasons.
Sure. Well, we were too, but you can make the best of it and have so much fun with it.
Yeah, I can see that. One of the things that first comes up is how do I keep food safe when I'm camping? And you already mentioned a cooler. We've been joined by Fairyana's Vlogs. I just wanted to say hi to her for a minute.
Yes, I said hi before. Yeah.
Then I want you to tell us some of your trials and tribulations about coolers. Because I know they can be.
Yeah. Well, what happens after a couple of days before you really want to replace the cooler? Because I was on a budget, I felt. I was always on a budget as soon as I had my son. So I would always refuse to go past that budget. So after 2 days, you've got a cooler soaked with water, of course. So you do have to drain the thing out. And, of course, the block starts out about this big and they're heavy. They're probably $5 or something. And it'll keep maybe 3 days worth of food cold. And then, of course, at your last day, it's maybe this big. And you're draining the water, which you really need to drain the water. You can even get nowadays, now that I know, you can get just a bunch of large Ziploc bags and just put your food in the Ziploc bags and they'll float around on the cooler sometimes. But it sounds funny, but it does work. And we learned how to start a fire in the campground. A guy next to us showed me, which was the first time someone really reached out to me. Being a woman out there on my own, you could tell I knew nothing about what I was doing once I got there, because my dad did everything growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you hadn't had that experience yet. So you were a real novice when you were out there with your 3-year-old.
And it was embarrassing. I was really nervous that I was going to have social services come after me out there with a 3-year-old by myself. And you really have to hold a stiff upper lip and be really brave and strong and kind of tough, because if you're going to be out there with your son, you can't just be frail, and you can't look and act frail.
And that is one thing that I have heard repeatedly from parents who are out there and they want to go for, 6 months, a year, 10 years, and they have children. And the consistent fear is, how will DCS react? Because there's a very different thing from being homeless versus living house free. And
Yeah.
I think I don't know that
Good
DCS
point.
always understands that difference.
I
So
don't know that. I didn't have the run-in that I was kind of feeling like I was sidelining. People didn't really seem to be really interested at the fact that I was out there alone with my son, in that aspect, but more the fact that I was actually doing it. So I kind of made it a stage for myself. Like when people would walk by, especially like the grandparents hand in hand who would be camping, my son would be out there and he would be hammering in the stakes, if I said that right. And he would be helping me collect firewood, which you start with small twigs, is what I was taught by the neighbor to me when I first went out. So it was more of, even if I felt nervous inside, which I did at times, I just made sure I was showing that I was adorning my son and that he was out there and he was learning a trade and a craft.
that's, I think, making it an adventure for a
Yeah.
child at any age, I think, is the key to getting kids to enjoy things. What do you all think, who is in the chat? Tell me what you think. Do you think making things an adventure is the way to do it with kids? Also, I want to go through. Variana's Blogs is asking, what precautions can you or do you take to keep wildlife, especially bugs, out of your area?
Oh yeah, that's a very good one. I was pretty terrified at one point when I gave up my car, and the last 6 months I had to move someplace warmer, and we came to California. And many times I would lock my tent, like it was going to help a whole lot. I had this tiny little padlock that I thought was keeping my son and I safe. But if you went out after dark, there'd be these humongous bugs hanging off your tent. So I just didn't go out after dark, and I used my son's potty, which is really funny. I put in a screenplay that I started over at, the link is under the YouTube description, I think. It's also at lauriejeanfinnila.com. I have a link there. But that was probably the hardest, funniest time. I had to laugh. So that was when the really dangerous kind of bugs and snakes and everything came around. But when I had my car before, like as far as the weather and stuff, I could at least use the car as a shield. But when you're in the tent, and there were definitely animals at one point that I thought it was a bear, like really badly shuffling our stuff out outside of the tent. And I had a larger tent at that point, but I knew not to move. And fortunately, my son Jesse, who was 3, he really was great about everything. He just, like when a rattlesnake was coming towards us, he just knew to stay calm. So I think it's just staying calm, and really from what we left and what was registered, I think in both our personalities, is the fact that we had already seen things that were scary. And now we were just in a state where, do we want to be there or do we want to be here? And we apparently wanted to be here, the here and now where we were.
And I'll tell you something that I tell people when they hear that I'm going to drive to Alaska, and they're like, "Aren't you terrified? You're going to be out there. You're going to be by yourself. There's going to be all these scary, creepy crawlies and bears and things like that." And I'm like, I get scared in a parking garage at night. Because as a woman, you're trained. No, seriously,
Yeah,
like we're trained as
yeah,
women.
we are.
Beware of parking garages, dark
Yeah.
spaces, things like that. So those kinds of things bother me. But when I'm out and I'm overnighting on the side of the road, I don't worry about it as much because bears make noise.
Yeah, there's a
So
piece that comes over
usually,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
know that they're there too. I mean, I wasn't happy that they wanted to get in my stuff, but really they weren't interested in my son and I in the tent. They just wanted to get into food or whatever was out there. And I kind of blame myself for leaving the coolers and things out there, but I knew they were closed and I just wanted to feel a little comfort of ease. So next night I knew not to leave stuff out. So just don't leave things out that will attract animals to you. Putting little locks in your tent, the bugs obviously can't get in. I had a rabbit though eat through my tent in California, eat a
Oh
whole,
no.
but I wasn't there. So I just replaced the tent. But I think not leaving food hanging around is a big deal. And I think moisture probably would attract bugs too. Just keep everything dry and clean and put away, really, mainly. You're going to encounter them. I mean, I can't tell you you're not. There's no way you're not going to encounter wildlife and bugs.
And there are bear fruit, bear proof storage containers that you
Yes,
can get, and you can actually hang your food from the tree, but they
yes.
are special storage containers. And
Yeah,
they do tell you do not, leave your food out, just like at home,
yeah.
because it can
Well, they're smart.
attract all kinds of things. Go
I
ahead.
think they know what coolers look like because I mean, like I said, my coolers were closed, and for the longest time, this huge thing was raffling with that thing, and I thought, just take it and go, I'll get a new cooler. But he wasn't going until he got in that thing. Finally, he gave up. But I think it's just leaving the coolers hanging out because their senses must be so strong. If it's not one of the ones you're talking about that are bear safe.
Yeah, they can smell for up to a mile, I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, they were smart with this one, or it could have been more than one. Maybe the bear and his little babies next to him because it was so loud. But yeah,
Okay. And going back to the parking garage thing, Busy Lady is saying she carries pepper spray on her keys.
oh, I do
So,
too.
good
I got
girl. Um, and
noise.
Marianne is saying she doesn't go out alone at night ever. Even working overnight was scary. So, yep. Um, See, Busy Lady is saying keep everything sealed up. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
sure.
critical. That saves a whole lot of problems right there. She's right. So bugs and animals. And, I don't know if you've all ever had this experience of like two-legged people that you're with waking up at the middle of the night deciding they're hungry. Keeping everything sealed up can keep kids out of food at 3 a.m. when they decide they're hungry and they're really not.
Oh, my son was out like a light. I think because we would walk like everywhere a lot of the time, and
Oh,
that kept him entertained. Well, I brought his bike, a three-wheeler, when I first went out there, and because I had the car, and he would ride that everywhere.
that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, so he at nighttime he was just out. My biggest concern I think was nutrition, him getting enough nutrition without the refrigeration and cooking tools. When I first went out there, I was always really concerned that he was
Sure.
losing too much weight because when they're out there, they're so active. Let's say in the summertime, and so it was like that there, and being limited with my choices of food camping. Um, I would worry just giving him pasta and sauce and crackers, which is fine, for lunch, and then maybe a meat at dinner. But I just was worried a bit about, and the milk he didn't get, which, well, actually he couldn't drink milk, but the alternatives that I had him on seem to sometimes clash camping. So I'm not going to say I hadn't had times where I sat there and said, God, am I a good mother or not? You're making choices. So for those who feel like they have to go out there, they're homeless out there, they're running from a situation. Yeah, you have to sit back sometimes and you ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? But when it comes down to the end of it, whether or not this is something you really have to do. And so you're willing to sacrifice some of these things. For my son, for his safety, is what I was willing to do. So,
And certainly the way you made it an adventure for him with the
Yeah,
bike and keeping him entertained. I
yeah.
bet he, even though he was 3, 3-year-olds pick up on when mom's stressed. They do that. And
Well, no,
so,
not really, because he had
you
no
know,
problem riding his bike through the women's room where we bathed because he was little enough, and he'd leave the bike tracks all the way in and all the way out, and he'd take a shower by himself in the corner, singing and washing, and he's the cutest thing. And the women would, some of them would laugh, and the other half would be screaming at him. And I didn't want to take away his security, and I think they could see I was in that position. Finally, after 3 days, when he walked in without his tricycle thing, I said, "You ready?" Because he knew they weren't happy, and he said, "I'm ready." And they clapped when he walked in and out without having to have his bike, and they were
aw,
like, great. No more mud tracks in here, because they were like, and I wouldn't say a word. I'd let him roll the mud right through the ladies' bathroom,
you can
and
always clean it up later. But what a nice, affirming situation for a kid to be applauded and get
yeah,
support from all these other adults, you
he
know?
grew up camping. Yeah, he grew up camping, and I'm really grateful to all the adults along the way that were so supportive of him and I.
That's amazing. Now, Fariana's wanting to know what was the overall cost per week for camping?
Oh, I
Uh,
thought you said weekend. It was about $30 in the weekend. It was anywhere from 10, I don't remember exactly, $10 to $20 a night. And I had a disability card for camping, and so I got a break, and there was state camps. So it wasn't like I was out in the wilderness. I mean, there were rangers there. You're not always that safe though. Anyway, sometimes the campsites are very far, not really far, but far enough from one another that you're pretty much on your own. But it was cheaper because I was at the state park. So
State parks have some really nice campgrounds.
yeah,
I've been in several states now, and consistently they've had pretty nice campgrounds. There's
yes,
been a little differences in the things that they offer. Like you may stay at a campground that is literally $3 a night, and you may have a parking space, and that is it. No
mhm,
place to take care of personal needs. But then you
mhm.
might find someplace. I was in Tyler, Texas, and they have this free campground right in the middle of town. And it's a small town, very safe across from the park. And those campgrounds, those spaces were free. You could spend up to 5 nights, and they
Nice.
included water and electricity.
That's really good.
Yeah, so it's a huge variation of what you find. But there are, even with that, they're kind of different levels. Like there's boondocking. So if you want to be out in the woods or wherever, desert, lake, woods, then you can boondock on someone's property or sometimes next to or in even national forest lands. They will have places
Oh
where
yeah,
you
we had
can
that. I
park
wouldn't
for
care.
free. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they had some seriously sparse is what it's called, maybe, where there's hardly anything out there, places we could have gone to for free. And I almost went, but I thought, what if my son gets sick? And I thought that would have been a really good experience for him. But I thought it was might be too dangerous, so I decided against that. But
Well, it kind of depends because freecampsites.net is a great resource to have to help find free or really super cheap places to
if
stay.
you really need,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
and there's the dispersed camping, which is where you can pretty much go anywhere on BLM land, some Forest Service lands. Those can be free, but there's also less expensive sites. You were talking about having the disability card.
Hmm.
Our National Park Service has a disability card that gives you free entrance to national parks, different like BLM lands, and so forth. And along with that is a pretty steep camping discount of up to 50%.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
got. fifty
yeah,
percent. Yeah.
they're great. Uh,
Yeah.
Last fall, we went to the beach, Fariana, and stayed on the other side of the dunes to get to the water. Just climbed over the dunes, okay, and it was off season, but we paid $18.75 a night and had electricity. But we had to go to the dump station kind of across the way there
Mm-hmm.
to be able to dump the RV tanks. So, but they did have showers and restrooms and things like that. So it can vary substantially.
Mm-hmm.
But we can do a live stream sometime on how to find inexpensive or free camp spots if you want to. If you think that'll be helpful, Fariana, so let us know.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, over on my blog, Bodacious Broads travelblog.com, we have, yeah, I tried to get a bodacious name there. Actually, this one came before the YouTube channel name. But there is an article called What is a National Parks Access Pass? I'm going to put it over here in
Yeah.
the chat room.
Let me see. I
That
don't.
might be. So there's the link. That will tell you a little bit about the pass and
You
where it's
did.
good and so forth.
Gayle, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh
Try
my
to keep things
God.
fun.
I am definitely going to. You even have a Facebook page to this, Bodacious Broads.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
That's
That is so cool.
that's our Facebook group, Gayle vlogs there.
Okay, somebody in the
So,
group, yeah.
yeah. So there's the link for that. So maybe it'll help. Also, Peter's saying that there are food shortages happening. And yes, there are.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we've ever recovered from the virus. Or that's what they tell me every time I go to the store and the shelves
From
empty.
the virus. I was sick before I came here, and though I didn't have a temperature 2 days in a row, even this morning, I could still feel like that when the first pandemic came out, that kind of firing up a little bit in the outside of my skin. And I said, I must have it now, and I wasn't missing this though. But
Thank you for not missing it. Whoops.
no, I made sure I did everything humanly possible to make it here. And I am getting a little bit better, but I mean, I don't have the things that other people have had, but I really think my body's trying to fight it off. Something new that's going around that's out here now. But
well, don't get it. Like, do whatever you can not to get it. The world, I'm telling you, and definitely don't get it twice.
It's just I don't really go too many. Well, no, I go out more now, but I wear my mask still.
Some places are still asking you to wear them.
I know.
I was doing some research, getting ready to travel. So, and that's something else I wanted to bring up. What do you do when you're camping and you get sick?
That's a really, really good point. Now, I was really lucky. Actually, you have a photo of Jesse when he got up on Christmas morning in his pajamas, and you could tell he was runny and not feeling that well because he had a sinus condition since he was a baby. And I couldn't get the doctors to test him for allergies, because I left the situation, the family situation of what would have been him, me, and my son, because I felt it was better for him. So I couldn't really get a lot of outside help to this. And I just brought a lot of the Benadryl that he was on, that they put him on. And sometimes I felt like I was dousing him because they started out that way when he was a baby, just like doubling the doses. And I felt uncomfortable, but I don't know. It's like we both looked at one another, and I tell you, a 3-year-old, they are smart. It's like he knew that we're going to have to try to find a way to work with this. And he knew he had to back off from the stuff, even though he liked taking it because it made him feel better. But I just said, honey, I've given you so much. And he knew. I said, I feel bad about this. And so he just kind of swallowed it. And then he would feel better a little bit later. But that wasn't often. For the most part, he was really happy to be out there because of what we left. And he really was thriving. If you see one of the photos when I was still back on the East Coast, when he just got out of the shower, which I'll have to put them up on my blog too. Actually, they are up on my blog, which you have the link there. He has his blonde hair, is really cute in this little jumper, and he's just really happy. I think that was at the point where the women had, clapped for him. But you can tell he grew from when we first went out there with the sunglasses till that photo. So even though he had really bad allergies that they weren't testing him for, and he was considered having sinus problems, from that point, the points in between those two, he still really thrived. And then the only other thing throughout the year is I had a tooth that was bothering me, but I had insurance, so it was kind of tricky trying to get to a post office box that I would set up in the area where I'd be staying, because I would be kind of repeating different places that I would go to, but you could only stay at one place 2 weeks at a time. So I kind of
Yeah.
revolved between 5 or 6 different places within one area, so I could at least get my insurance card and get that taken care of. But other than that, we were really, really lucky. Oh, I had something snap in my eye trying to put a tarp up, because it's really,
Oh no.
yeah, I was climbing up a tree to put a tarp up. No, I was standing on the picnic table, and the thing snapped back at me and it hit my eye. And I thought, all I could think of sometimes is, I really don't want to have to go to a hospital.
Sure.
And you have no address to give them on top of it. So basically, I was homeless, but I didn't feel like I was, because I had money and the option to go to a home. It was a choice I made, but basically I was.
And now, what some people are doing as far as an address is renting a box, like at a UPS store, for example,
Oh,
or a
yes.
mail store.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share some of the photos of
Oh,
your
I love
son that
that.
you've shared
Yeah.
with me. So you can tell us what's going on in the different
Okay.
photos if you can
Sure.
see them. There we go. Obviously, that grin, he's one happy camper in that picture.
Oh, here we go. Yes, that was when we were camping in the Boston area. I don't know if it was one, I think it was one of his first ice cream cones. He was still pretty little then, because he just went from his 2 to 3. And he still had that tiny little toddler frame. Yeah, he was pretty smitten about what he was withstanding and doing. Yeah.
Sure. And let's see, I like this one too.
That
Is
was
he
the
just all
one.
scrunched in?
Do you see the time frame, how he grew camping?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just grew. He was 3.5 there, and the shower is right around there, and he got all cleaned up. And I always kept his clothes white. We would go to a laundry place, and I always put shout in his clothes, so he until he would get them dirty. But he was a pretty neat kid. Yeah, he always looked clean and smiley. And well, once in a while when we'd get in late from what would it be calling when you're out all day trying foraging, not foraging, you're pretty much foraging. Most of our days really were out trying to a lot of the time, especially in California. I'd say more in California when I didn't have a car. Our full days were trying to get to places where I could get things we needed back to the campsite. So it was like I was in Alaska, really, with no wheels. So
So that's going to make it challenging anytime, because just as a mom, having those wheels available makes you feel so much more secure.
oh yeah.
So,
I would cry though still when I had them, when we had the thunderstorms, and I would be holding him because it was
woo,
pretty bad on the car.
thunderstorms are scary. We
Yeah.
had a situation once, we were in a storm and the tree fell on the campsite next to us. We were in the fan, so we had a little bit of protection, but I was thinking the whole time, oh my
Oh,
gosh, what if we had been in a tent like what you did? So,
we
yeah.
had a storm where trees were falling, and I was in a tent. And you want to know who saved my life? Jesse, my 3-year-old, because they was so loud, the trees that were falling down toward our tent. And once again, we looked at each other, and I thought, I'm going to have to go out there and see what's going on, because I didn't know if I was going to have to move us. And he looked at me and said, Mom, don't move. And I thought, I actually listened to him. Our kids have this insight. I'm not kidding you.
They do sometimes.
Well, they stopped, and they stopped right at the part where I would have walked up to see if it was going to continue coming. That's how close they came to the tent, but not close enough they would have harmed us. But where if I went out and looked, I would have gotten hit by the tree potentially that was coming down. So I don't know how he knew, but I thought it can't hurt to listen to him, because honestly, if we go out there, we could both be killed. If we stay in there, maybe we have a chance. I wouldn't have thought that though.
it gets a little scary when trees start flying around.
It was a big
Yeah.
storm or something at that time that
Ooh.
the huge trees were falling. Yeah.
And there is something that I recommend people who are thinking about camping a lot do, and that is the National Weather Service offers free storm spotting classes. You can do that online, and it helps you learn what cloud formations are the scariest and the ones you don't have to worry about. So it's a
Oh,
free class. It's pretty interesting. You can just do that online. But it
really?
helps when you're camping because then you know when to worry and when not to worry.
Yes.
That
I ran out though. I was on the run, running out. So I didn't really have time to plan very well. So I
right.
really just took it as it came. But
Plus,
yes.
you didn't have the internet then
Oh
like
no,
we do
that's
now.
right. No, actually, when my son was born, we did, and it was pretty. It was being used quite a bit when he was 3, but darned if I could get on there. I mean, it took me 3 years
Yeah,
after that just to write an email. But yeah, that's a really good point to make.
yeah. Things have changed. Like now, for example, you mentioned laundry a few minutes ago,
Yes,
and last week I did the unboxing of this cute little washing machine
yes.
that is has a really powerful motor. I mean, I scrubbed ground dirt into this shirt to test it when I washed it, and it came out clean. It looked really good. But you didn't have those,
I
at
don't know
least
if I
not
would
as
have loved.
readily available if they were out.
I was trying to hide the fact too that I was actually out there for that amount of time, so that probably would have made me feel insecure to do my laundry right on the campsite.
And I can understand that, especially with your child and having a little bit more concern there for people
Yeah.
being nosy. You don't want that.
I like to make it look like it was
Um,
just a short trip that we like to do together, and I always had that in my mind
yeah.
that that was what I was trying to portray.
Okay. And I'm going to bring up another picture of him in this.
Oh,
He's got his sunglasses and
that
he's
was my first laugh.
drinking.
And look at how tiny he is, just a tiny, tiny little thing, and he was still in his stroller. Of course, he didn't get out of his stroller till he was just out of 4 years old because it's really hard for them to walk that far. But yeah, he his hair was a little bit darker because he hadn't been in the sun. His sippy cup, he's got his sippy cup.
Yeah. I'm
Yep.
going to see if I can make this a little bigger so
He's
that
so
so
cute.
people. Whoops, I don't want that. Where is it? There. It's not much bigger. Let me
There's
try
the
this.
tarp. I don't know if that's
There we go.
the tarp and the picnic table. At one point, I got a little propane gas stove to heat things up in.
Okay, so there's the tarp,
Yeah, yeah.
and just if you can see the cursor, here's
It was
his
Rara.
head, and he is just almost about the same height as the stroller.
Yeah, little tight
Yeah.
guy there.
And you can tell it's one of those lightweight fold up strollers. Those of us who are
Yeah,
moms know about how tall they are.
yeah.
And there he is. But he just looks so cool. He's like, I'm the man, I'm drinking, and
Oh
I've got
yeah.
my glasses on.
He was always like that with me anyway. Yeah.
And there you are.
Oops.
So
There's
I may
me.
have exhausted the things there. Okay. There, you could tell though that he was relaxed and had a good time with
Yeah,
the camping.
one of the things we did with the weather, because you can't tell, of course, what the weather's going to be. Like when we were in California, I didn't have to worry a lot about the rain, though we almost drowned crossing a ocean thing that fills in. But one of the things we did over on the East Coast, where it rains and it just can be for days, is I took trash bags, the big green ones, and made them into like rain gear, and
Yeah.
we collected cans. I taught him how to recycle cans, and then we took the money and we used it to buy ice cream. And I thought that was a really fun kind of classroom thing to teach him.
Nice. Good way to start him on a lifelong habit for recycling there.
He had no idea what recycling was. He had no idea that people don't have money. People don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know how I really got to the point where, probably because when we went to get the money for the ice cream, when you put the recyclables in, I was getting dirty looks, like that's how I was supporting my child, but I had to make sure I kept reiterating out loud, "Oh, wasn't that fun? We learned how to do this. Now let's go buy ice cream, and that was a good
Yeah.
job you did." But yeah, that was one of the things we did when it was raining out, because you do kind of run out of things to do, and I was worried because I wondered, I mean, like what kind of days am I giving him? Is what I worried about.
But you've taught him to love the outdoors, to be inquisitive, to be open to new experiences. You've
Yeah.
taught him to recycle. You've taught him campground safety by this point. Don't go
Oh
too far
yeah,
away from
too
mom.
much
Don't
sometimes.
touch the hot campfire.
Yeah, no, he would help me. He would be right by the fire,
Uh,
putting in the sticks. Of course, I was careful, but I wouldn't
yeah,
let them put them in when it's blazing and stuff. But to start it out, um,
teach him what a safe
yeah,
distance is.
yeah. Oh, I remember one time when we were laying on our bellies over this. It was a brook that was probably just like a little bit of water trickling, and that's when I tried to teach him the importance of nature and the beauty of nature. And I really envy the fact that you've gone to Alaska and you may go back. This whole traveling thing with you
Yeah,
is just so astonishing to me. But I wanted him to know how important nature is and our surroundings. And I said, this is what's the most important thing in the world, love. And you
nice.
see that water trickling down there, the sound of the water, and just everything around it that is so powerful, that is here today, is what is the most important thing.
That's cool.
Mm,
Good lessons.
yeah.
I also want to share, busy lady. I'm going to pull this back up. She says you are a good mama.
Oh, that's so nice.
So
Thank
there
you.
you go.
May I
Also,
throw a
she
shout out?
says he's so handsome.
Oh, isn't he? Oh my gosh. Well, a newspaper picked up on him in California because he was so cute, walking down the road one day, and took a photo of him. I still have that.
Oh,
May I,
nice.
may I do a shout out to Tanya? Because Tanya, who is Lambert, who is an unbelievably loving woman. And if you go to my personal webpage, Lori Finnila, I've been sharing some of the things she makes. When I was having a hard time getting over this sickness, and I wanted to make sure I could come here today, I thought about what Tanya was doing for me, and she has such a sentimental touch. Toward people that touched me with some of the things that she's been making for me and talking about making for me and others. And that really kept me going. Her heart, that she was willing to reach out to me and do this for me.
She is a very giving, lovely person.
Yeah.
She is. Okay, and Stellar Piper's letting us know that she's going to be having dinner and not chatting much, but she's here.
Okay.
So that's what matters, Stellar. You were talking about Alaska a few minutes ago. We have been, every time we go, it's for a purpose of a mission trip. I'm just this crazy person who drives. Um, you know, more time than money, and I haul the team stuff up there to Alaska. So it has led to some very interesting experiences. But the first time I went ever was back in 2009 with Stellar Piper, and she lived through it. Just saying.
Oh, I'd love to know that one. You got to do something on that one.
So it was an interesting trip, but she wasn't 3. But one of the things I really liked about that trip, and Stellar Piper, don't be mad at me for saying this, but watching her grow with each mile and see her change and develop, but
Yeah.
it's a lot different being with a late teenager than it is with a 3-year-old.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think those changes too that are really important in teens, especially if you can even get them to go out there and enjoy or appreciate the surroundings out there.
Well, she's got an adventurous spirit, which
Oh yeah.
helps a lot. So she was. There was a tense moment when she looked out the window and she's like, "Mom, there's fire." And I should have known. That should have clued me in, because
Yeah.
that happened on every single trip.
Oh no.
What you gonna do? But those memories don't go away, and you've got
Yeah.
all of these great memories. Somebody asked a little while ago, what was your best memory and what was your worst memory? So let's
Uh,
go best.
that's a really good question. My son's best memory of his whole time with me, and I think it's probably mine too on this camping trip was when we ended up at the ocean in California. And my favorite time in my life was walking the beach with my grandmother. And the beach was just so long and the ocean is so powerful, and I so wanted him to see the ocean, and he was really taken back by it. But once he accepted it and he saw that I felt it was safe for him to be there with it, I showed him snails. I'd take them off the rocks and show them to him, the seashells, and it was okay to let the waves come up and touch his feet. He just ran free. And he said that was the happiest moment with me in his life. And so I'd have to say that's probably the happiest one. The saddest one, I was going to say I have two of them. One definitely comes to mind. Well, both of them is when there were thunderstorms. And once again, you're asking yourself as a mom if this is the right thing you had done or you're doing. And the first was when I first went out in a car, which it was more dangerous in the car, I guess, in a sense. So I suppose not really, but just having the thunderstorms bounce off of us and me having to run out of the tent into the car. And I mean, you assume that you're safe in the car when the thunderstorms are going by, but they would hit the car really bad. And I know deep down the chances are a lot smaller when you're in a car to be struck by lightning, but I knew it was possible. So that's when tears came to my eyes. And once again, when I was in California and we didn't have a car and we were running in the campground, down the campground roadway to the bathroom and sitting in there because you couldn't stay in your tent. They was so bad. And my son was just really crying badly. And I felt really bad and I had to hold him. And that was probably the worst time, was those two thunderstorms. Everything else that would sound horrifying was nothing compared to these times.
And I just want to toss out there, and this may be something that has changed through the years, but in a lot of the campgrounds, the storm shelters are the bathrooms because they're all brick and they're limited with windows.
Yeah,
So if you're camping for an extended period of time, make sure that you ask about where the storm shelters are just
yeah,
to verify that they are indeed the restrooms.
yeah.
But now I also want to point out that, like, as a mom, we're always going to question ourselves sometimes, no matter where we are,
True.
about are we doing the right thing? Are we raising our kids right? What are people going to think? You
That's
know,
true.
we've
There
got some moms in the chat. Y'all chime in and tell me if you've ever been there where you've kind of second guessed yourself. I know I have. I mean, no, Stellar Piper, I have never, ever, ever. What am I saying here? No, never.
I
I
think
forgot my daughter was here for a second.
that's a good point to point out.
And okay. Busy Lady says, yes, we always worry about our kids no matter what.
Hmm.
She's right. Um,
Yeah,
all the time with the second guessing.
yeah. I mean, still today, I wish there was a way I didn't have to do it quite like that. Though, I mean, would I ever have gone camping with him? And would he have ever gotten the experiences that I give him? And the kid who he is today, or the man, is unbelievable. So, I mean, I'm hoping that maybe if I can say something good that came out of this, that I give that to him.
So, how does he feel looking back? I don't know. I don't know how much you want to, with him not
I think
being
for a
here.
long time, being a kid, they're going to hate a lot of things because you're their parent, and the things that you want them to do. And, now he's wonderful because he's a grown man, but, you're going to get the dragging of the feet in a lot of things. So, I mean, the not seeing eye to eye is going to start at a certain age and it's going to keep going through until that stops. So, you don't you can see it yourself as a parent, really, as they're an adult. I think they'll see it more when they have their kids, and that's just really how the cycle goes, I believe.
I think so. Plus, there's another dynamic when you're camping and you're in a smaller space. You have to really learn to like each other.
Oh,
You
he
really
was always
do.
really good as a kid like
So
that. Yeah, we never had that butting of the heads because he was so
it's
reliant on me.
good. That's good. I know that for some people who may listen later who have teenagers and so forth,
Oh,
I
that,
think
yeah.
that is something to keep in mind.
Yeah. That's
The dragging of the feet
oh,
and
yeah,
the
we did that, yeah, right. It has to be this way.
really,
It might not be the
yeah,
most funnest way, but yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Um, so I think really also being aware of the area and things that there are to do, like the beach, the water. Were you explaining to him about the water and the stream there or the creek and
Yeah.
what was important? You know, being able to play in a creek is one of the things that kids get the benefit of when they're camping. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well, I don't know if you could actually go down and play in it. It was something you walk over, and it was kind of steep, though it wasn't dangerous or deep. So he couldn't really go in and touch the.
Okay.
When he could touch the water, I think, though he was hesitant. I think that's when he really realized, the power of water.
And that's important.
Yeah,
That's a life lesson
yeah.
that people always need to know and be aware of, because you know rain, water, flooding,
Well, it
things like that.
moves. It
So
moves in its own power and direction. And I think that was just the first time that, I mean, he was, because he saw that he was hesitant. I don't know if it's because of what we went through or because it was just larger than life. I mean, I almost drowned in oceans and I just was never afraid of them, no matter what. I would just get right back up and go out there. But I was around all this stuff since I was little. But yeah, he was very hesitant. He was very hesitant actually when I was swimming in the beach when we first went out. I mean, I didn't take him like pull him out like some parents would. He'd sit on the shore and I'd go underwater and swim up on him, and he loved that and laughed. But I didn't force him to go into the water.
that's important.
I guess I don't know. I mean, I love the water, so I was gonna make sure that he was safe enough, but I was going in, so.
Busy Lady says that she hopes her son turns out the same way, that he loves camping because he was in the Scouts in Florida, and she says her husband took him. And now he keeps asking to camp here in Michigan. There's so many nice parks here
Oh,
to
that's
camp at.
wonderful. Oh, my son camps all the time. Well, my son camps quite a bit now and does all that rough, wild stuff out there with his guy friends. So, yeah,
Nice.
that's great that he likes it because she took him out there. I think that's really important.
So I was saying that curiosity is a big indicator that he's going to do great with the outdoors later.
Yeah,
That's was my impression with taking the girls camping.
yeah.
You say, what do you think?
Yes, I think it makes life much safer. I think all around, really, because we've seen the most powerful out there when you're out in nature, and we've definitely seen the deadliest, the most powerful, things that are really outside of our control. And I think once you've seen that and you accept it, then the rest of your life really is kind of a piece of cake. So that's probably why, because I took him out so early, that even though we went through a lot of different atrocities after that, it was okay to pick up and move again. It was okay. We went through this. We've already been through more things more powerful than what's coming at us now. So we can do this. We can do this. He always wanted to do it together with me. As
Right.
long as we're together, Mom, and we're doing this, then we're okay.
Yeah. But even with those difficult moments, you also have the scenery, the vistas, the sunsets, the beach, those moments that you just hold on to that you just keep with you forever. Those beautiful memories too.
Yeah, it was consuming. It consumed us inside. That, to tell you the truth, I wouldn't sit down and say, "Oh, here's the sun going down," and here's the. It was like the air we were breathing constantly, and we just walked it every day. I don't know how to explain that and why, but that's what we were in.
It may be one of those things where that you just can't explain.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think because we were breathing in so much negativity before and so much violence and so much unquestionable action, it was just, okay, we were here and now, and we were just breathing. We were breathing, we were walking. And I think we were so grateful to walk on that path that we were walking on. So we didn't want to question it, move it, judge it. We just completely went with it. And
Sure.
whatever it was going to give us at that point, we were just so grateful.
And nature itself is very healing. You know, they tell you, like, if you're struggling with depression, go walk every day.
Yeah.
And to reconnect with yourself,
Yeah.
go take a trip in nature because it's healing and it's soothing.
Yeah.
You know, you've got cleaner air usually, you know, and
We did, thank goodness. Yeah.
yeah, so you've got that, and the just being outside, it switches your focus. It's hard to be totally negative about things when
Yeah.
you're outside and you're in a pretty area.
Yeah. When I would get sad or start to, you know, double guess myself as to what I was doing about structuring our time and just the whole thing, trying to make it look normal, routine, real, and just being out there, not really getting a break from it. Because a year's a long time with a 3-year-old. um, I would say, let's just go walk. Because he knew all I had to do was say, let's go walk. He'd run, get on his bike. That was on the East Coast. And he was fine. He'd be off on that. The weird part was not having a car after that, because we weren't really taking in the sights and things as much as I wanted to. Um, though he loved riding the trains. We were in San Diego at one point, and we were riding trains and things. So we found other things to do that were more commonplace if you're not camping, but there can be trouble if you don't have a car. So I'm not going to say that it's really hard if you don't have a car. Trying to move all your things camping and trying to really look normal when you're trying to set up and there's like a storm going on and your kid's crying because he's wet and you're hurrying. Most of the time at that point, I was renting a car. I gave up my license now, but you know, and the cops are driving by, and this a couple times the cops were going by, and I'm just trying to run my kid in the tent and make sure that he's happy and he has food, and you hurry up and strip him down and get him warm clothed and give him things that he loves to eat. It can be a challenge that you're not disrupting other campers there and that you're not drawing attention to yourself.
Well, even under the best of circumstances, it can be a challenge because
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
want a bunch of people coming over to your campsite every 5 minutes, you know,
No.
and some campgrounds, I honestly have to say, it's like the minute I have pulled in and people have seen the van, it's like this magnet for people wanting to know, oh, is that one of those quote van life vans, or what's that stuff on the roof? You got a fan up there? Well, yeah. And then don't ever tell anybody you got solar power on the van because you're going to be talking to them for 30 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
And you just want to say, shoo, 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 and go. But with kids, the magnet is you've got a child, and everybody's going to tell you how cute the child is, and or they're going to tell you everything you're doing wrong at that moment. And they're
Yeah.
usually the ones that don't have kids that dive in with the parenting advice.
Yeah, I have to say I
So
was lucky. Yeah, I was lucky with that. You know, we would take off from morning till end of the day and make sure that we were out doing something, especially when we were in California camping. We would definitely be up. You know, as soon as the sun would be up, we'd be out and walking around. If I wasn't looking for food to eat, I'd be buying him clothing because he'd be growing out of his clothing. Um, uh,
kids do that at
yeah,
an alarming rate.
yes, we go to eat like at a Pizza Hut. They'd have the buffet. He really, I mean, he loved everything we would do. And I mean, it was just he was a kid that liked to be out and about.
Nice. It
Yeah.
sounds like he still is the type of kid
Yeah.
who likes to be out and about, just older.
He likes home life too, though. He does. I still worry. I worry, like, he does like staying home and he likes his home life and he definitely likes going out. But I always worry, no matter what situation he's in, that somehow these things added negativity to his life. But, you know, seeing you like with the van life and stuff, I know he loves to travel, and I could see us one day, like what you're doing with your husband, getting in a van like that and traveling. That's like been one of my dreams, is to do that myself or with him, because there is nothing like traveling in an equipped vehicle that has everything that you need. And we did the best we could with our car, but I can't imagine with all the other amenities that you were getting together, that you are showing here. That is so cool.
Well, more things are available now than there were
Yeah.
even when we first started van life. I love it. But I will say, we were talking about tight spaces with another person. Uh, my husband and I, we love to travel. I love my van. He likes his privacy for, like, showering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that means one of us has to be outside of the van doing something else. So we wound up buying a travel trailer. But that was, I guess this is our second year with the travel trailer, or maybe third, I forget. But that has been great for the two of us.
Yeah.
But when I'm going someplace by myself, I'm taking my van. When I
Uh,
go to Alaska, I'm taking the van again.
you were really going to drive to Alaska by yourself?
I did that last time.
I cannot believe
Well, not
it.
totally by myself. I had the service dog.
Oh, Gail, I
So,
love it. Oh gosh, one day you've got to let me come with you.
oh, it's incredible. This time, somebody else has offered to go with me, so
Oh
we'll see how
yeah,
this goes. But
my
yeah,
dream.
it's incredible. But
Oh,
I did have a very humbling moment in the Pacific Northwest when I was in the van, and that is we stopped at a rest area. And
yeah.
you're going to have to tell me how you handled this with your son. But we
Okay.
stop at the rest area and we get out and start walking, and there's this big sign that says, "Beware of rattlesnakes."
Oh yeah.
I mean, we were adults, but 3-year-olds like to pick things up. Like, how did you handle that with your 3-year-old?
Well, the rattlesnake was across the street, and it was huge. And fortunately, there were cars that would come in between him every once in a while. So as I knew we had to stop. We both stopped, and he would just look at us and really throw the horriblest hiss in the world. So all I could think of was, okay, this is it, and I'm going to have to stand in front of it, stand in front of my son, and this could be it. And I thought, this is the end of our camping trip and my choice as a mom and all that other stuff. But I said to my son, "You got to stay calm. Don't move." He says, "I know, Mom." So I thought, okay, well, maybe we will get through this, because all I could think of was he was going to move, and that thing would have been on us like that. I don't even know if I could have get it off of him. That thing moved so quickly. I mean, it was really going fast up the hill. But fortunately, like I said, we were across the street. Now, the couple cars that came up, they could see we were in a position, and they were honking at him, trying to get him away. It might have deterred him just enough that we could walk. And my son fortunately followed me. Like I said, he was unbelievable. But when I was having trouble before we left, he was unbelievable too. He would like line his cars up for miles, metaphorically speaking, where I was renting, where we were living, while I was laying on the ground and I couldn't move. And eventually, after a while, he'd say, "Mom, you really got to get up." And he'd get up and move his little, like he had like kind of a car seat thing. It was a car with a seat that would lift up, and you put little toys in it
Aww.
that he would sit on. And we only had in our kitchen, there was an island I could have sat on. We had his little kind of kitchen table. So he would wheel that up to sit on, or help me make the breakfast in the morning. So he already took on kind of the manly role of, I'm going to help Mom. Mom's having a really hard time. So I think that's why he was so good.
Nice. Nice. Because you want to make sure your child can mind when you see signs that say rattlesnakes and when you see
Well,
one.
God, I'm telling you, if most 3-year-olds, I don't think, would have sat there and acted the way he acted, and it really would have been over for us. I mean, I don't know how fast I could have gotten either one of us to the hospital. I didn't have a car. You have to wait till the next car drives by, which it's not like there wasn't traffic there. We never were in a place where it's desolate, but still, boy,
Well,
me.
and then you have to, in your mind, you've got to think, is it going to be safe to get in the car with this person?
Well, I think
Somebody
at that
stops.
point probably would have been, not even something to consider if we were actually bitten by that horrible thing. But plus, California then was still pretty good when he was little. It wasn't too
good.
bad. I mean, I know everything's changed now, but that many years ago, he's 26 now, though someone asked in there. So this was a long time ago. So social services doesn't have to come after me, though they have in later years, and which is sad when you're going through things and they're not there for you. But yeah, he really, really reacted wonderfully. And, my dad raised me to be a tough girl, though. I mean, he played sports everywhere. He was coaching kids all the time. And you got up there and you picked up the ball and you got your hands dirty. So I think the fact that I already had that in me, and I couldn't just sit there and cry about it for a long time. You get upset and you get up and you get over it, So I guess he kind of got that from me too.
So you were raised to have a can-do attitude.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you were able to tap into that resiliency when life got tough.
Yeah, we were rustic pretty much. A lot of camping. I would fish when I could, I was really tiny, too tiny when I was little. I would fish, catch the fish. My dad would take them off. Yeah, we'd fish, we'd boat, we'd camp, sports, not in school. My dad wouldn't allow that, my mom, but we could play them around the home. And my father did a lot in the community. And we would play them outside of the community stuff. So yeah, I mean, my dad really had us really involved, rustic wise, and playing in the woods. I lived in the woods, really. We had a lot of woods around our house. So there's a lot of creepy things out there that you constantly find. I was always bringing them in the house in boxes and stuff. But yeah, so I mean, I've seen all the little creepy things. So it wasn't really too bad. It's hard on a kid, though, when they're seeing things that they haven't seen. I mean, snakes, and you hear bears and spiders. He didn't like bugs, but he was sleeping when they.
I'm with him. I like your son. I gotta say, I am totally there on not liking bugs.
Didn't have a big problem with that. We'd have them all the time around our doors, though my father would have the zappers growing up. So, I mean, we had bugs galore around. And that's probably, that's the biggest thing you're going to encounter. You're going to have bugs. They're going to crawl on you. They're going to be there. They're going to be on your picnic table. You've got to find a way to keep bugs off your food when you're eating. They have now those nice nylon things that you can put over your food in between while you're waiting to sit down to eat, and then I guess shoo it off. But they're going to be there.
Oh, I have to say, I'm typing in a comment right now saying DEET, DEET is a great invention.
Oh, I heard of that. What is that now? Oh,
it's a bug repellent, and it does a nice job. In fact, if you go to like Denali National Park in Alaska, Yellowstone, it's what they recommend, because Alaska, it's the mosquitoes. Stellar Piper is saying it really is.
Yes, we had times, Stella, right? Your memories. I'd love to hear your memories, Stella. We got to have Mom have a show, you guys. Anyway, talking about the memories, but yeah, I can remember mosquitoes. Well, I made sure I had sunscreen and bug repellent. You just bringing up all these moments. I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, we were coating ourselves with that stuff all the time.
Yeah, and and fortunately, the magnetic curtains that are mesh, they have more available now than they did even when I was camping with Stellar Piper back in 2009.
Sure.
They're wonderful. You can now even get them for your tent.
Yeah, there were many things I would have loved to have had with a colicky baby that they have now. But yeah, the tents, I know I moved from a dome tent to the bigger tent, which was kind of the luxury model when I was still over on the East Coast. And I loved having like the porch thing. We had like kind of a screened in porch. They would always break after a while, the tents. So I just want to let you know that be prepared to always have to buy a new tent. One thing I always had money for, there'd always be something. But, we'd enjoy it as long as it would last. And when it's raining out, to have the tarps and the screened in tents makes a huge difference. You can still really enjoy camping.
They're great to have.
And no bugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we cooked outdoors a lot, because you had to cook outdoors with a propane tank, and then using the fireplace, which obviously if it's Well, no, yeah. So if it's not raining, you have to cook that way. One way, I don't know how else someone would eat. I mean, you're gonna. So the bugs are.
Lots of sandwiches if you don't cook.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Oatmeal.
we never had sandwiches. I wanted to make it interesting, I guess, for him. We never ate sandwich. Oh no, I got a
That's
block of
nice.
salami once, and he loved that, and cheeses, and bread. Boy, he loved that. He would just tear. Now he eats the jerkies all the time. He loves it. I used to, oh my God, he'll spend so much money on. I'm like, now,
Turkey is a great camping food.
yes, he fell in love. I got him to fall in love with them there, I guess.
Yeah. But nowadays, one challenge that people are having more often is not being able to use the fire rings, not being able to use charcoal grills because of fire danger.
Oh
This
wow, yeah.
last trip that I took out west, we could not fire up a generator, we could not light a grill, we could not have a fire in a fire ring because they were under red flag warnings for fires.
Okay, okay. Well, you were in the woods though, where there were so many trees. Yeah, we had that a few times too.
Good.
Depending on where you are, we had a lot of campsites, especially in California, where it's really open. And on the East Coast, I think a couple times we had the fire warnings where we could not light the fire grill thing there. Yeah, we had that too.
And that's frustrating because you got to always kind of think in the back of your mind, if
It
it
is.
rains that day or if there's a restriction, like how do you cook? How do you feed your 3-year-old?
Well, how do you have fun too? Because the whole idea of camping really is to have that fire.
You got to have s'mores at some point if you're
Uh-huh.
not under restrictions. It's
We
just a
didn't do that.
requirement.
I didn't
I
allow.
don't even like s'mores, but it's like I have to have them when I go camping. That and pancakes. I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh, pancakes. Ah, geez. I don't know if I was um, that good of a cook back then, or that selfless that I put in that much time. Um, I remember making bacon and sausages. I'm sure I fried eggs. I think I tried to keep breakfast a little bit easy. Um, it would be mostly, by the time I'd get myself up and out, I was the same personality, even though I was camping, it would be like, oh my gosh, it's the next day and I have to wake up. And, my kid, he's always happy and running around, and no matter what I give him. But I can't say that I would get up and gruel myself for breakfast in the morning over the fire or a propane stove, especially with pancakes.
Sure. Well, I know you like to cook because your Instagram feed is always making me hungry.
Oh, I force myself to cook now, yes,
Oh,
because
you
it's
force yourself.
I'm in a lot of pain burning from the
Well, it
wonderful.
seems like you enjoy it from your Instagram feed. You don't see all the
Isn't that
fun stuff.
amazing? Isn't that amazing? I know. I'm really good at that, but
That's cool. That's real cool. I know someone's going to ask, you spent this year camping. What made you decide not to? And what was your decision
really good
process?
point. Really, that's probably the most important question someone can ask me, is the fact that I was getting tired. I was getting tired, and I've watched many shows like that of people out there doing similar things, and you just get beat down. I was exhausted. My options of camping were getting minimal. I think the same people I was going back to could kind of see what I was doing, and I felt like the places were being closed to me a little bit. My
Okay.
abuser followed me over there, and he would start hitting the tent with really large, heavy items, as he was before I left the East Coast. So I actually had to run from camping. I was renting a room at one of the Ys that would let kids go there. And then that even became questionable for me to be there for a long amount of time, because there were a lot of families there that were going through different things. I didn't want to incur social services. And it was time. It was time to stop.
Okay. Good answer.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of time, we usually try to keep this to about an hour. We've gone over just a little bit. But before we close out, is there anything that you would like somebody who is looking at your situation in a
Hmm.
similar position, considering the similar things?
Hmm.
Because you're not the first person I've talked with who was a victim of abuse and
Mhm.
went camping for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who is in that situation and looking at doing just what you did?
I think it's a good idea. It's definitely a solution to get away from abuse. It's something that you're taking on to yourself, which is what we have to do no matter what's happening. And it's a decision that you can make, and you can make it concrete, and you can make it happen. So I definitely recommend it.
There you go. All right, you all. Thank you for tuning in and being with us. And if you're watching this on the replay, do leave us comments and questions because we get those and we'll be checking back and we'll answer as we can. So thank you all. And remember, we're always about the hashtag Be Bodacious here, which means you're not going to let life get in the way of living. And Lori's links are down in the description box. And she just popped one up on the screen. So there you go.
The screenplay that I'm writing for it is at laurajeanfinella.com. I have little bits there. I'd like it to be a Disney because I think we can make it kid proof and teach people what really goes on in life, but to be supportive in a nice, friendly, mannerly way. If I can say
Do you
that.
mind expanding on your screenplay adventures for just a minute? Because you've done some pretty big things.
Yeah, I know how to write screenplays well. I won an award in Amsterdam for another true life inspired screenplay that I went through. And I started writing bits and pieces of some things that we talked about here today. And I tried to make them funny so that other kids can understand that these things do happen in people's lives. There's abuse, and it's okay to watch it, take it on, and be a part of it, and understand that it happens, and not to be ashamed or embarrassed of it. And there were funny moments and then crying moments like we spoke about today. And, most of them were fun and funny that I remember camping. So I just really, the thing of having to use my son's potty, I mean, that's really a big thing, a big woman's butt sitting on a child's potty, because there's no way that you're going to get out of your tent in the middle of the night, because I still had all the same fears that I had before
Sure.
on camping. And so, there's just funny things there that I had. That was one of them. So I just thought it would be, there's little bits and pieces on there that I made into screenplay little clips. So I think you might enjoy it going over there. And it is Laura
I'm going to
G.
show your blog right quick, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote a little poem to it when I left the situation I was in. But
So, singer-songwriter, she's proven herself as a professional creator of music being displayed at top charts artists on Sweet Sounds, Valley FM radio in Australia, NM1 music charts, Spain's This Is the Only Rock Radio, Canada's MPG radio, Germany's radio TFSC, nominated Single of the Year by International Singers and Songwriter Association, top song by Academia, top charts by Radio Indie Alliance, and music featured at MTV Italia website.
yeah, thank God.
And I'm just going to scroll through so y'all can see her beautiful website.
Yeah. My son took that photo too, by the way.
Which one? I'm seeing two photos.
The one with the leaves right there.
Oh, the one with the leaves. There we go.
I selfie that, but
nice.
The one below. Yeah.
So he's really talented.
Views to that site, and so Google has been great to me. They've given me millions of views when I had their pages up. But yeah, there's a lot of people that have been supportive of me, no matter what I talk about. Yeah.
Now I think it's tickling my brain. I think somebody wrote a CNN piece on you several years ago.
Oh yeah, he has
because we were on CNN, I think, at about the same time. That's why it's sticking in my brain.
He did. He wrote. He tried to support me when I was going through the worst, and
nice.
He may be a promised land person out of 50 people that he picked. He knows Oprah, I guess, so he put me in there with that. And he's written very beautiful things about me. Tom Livesey, Livsey. So
nice.
You can look him up. He's been supportive of me.
So cool. You've just done a lot of things. And
I keep I keep children's books too, and I give it a free one at my laurajeanfinella.com for other children who can't really talk about the abuse they're going through. I have books at Barnes and Noble that are in French. I've given most of my books out. It's not like I'm making all this money off these things, but I give them off free too. I think at Amazon under some of the links. But yeah, I write children's books. I have a podcast at Audible that I talk about my songs and, trying to heal from all the injuries on my body from abuse. And that's at under Lori Jean Finnila and Pandora, iHeartRadio, Spotify. But yeah, I think the main thing is the podcast at Audible and other places. And then my children's books, I have to say, the things I'm most proud of.
Lots of places to find you.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you all very much for coming. And Lori, thank you for coming and sharing your story. I'm going to leave this up there with your link there. So, and again, her link's in the description box. So check that out. Look for her on Amazon. Lori, I can get that link from you and put on your Amazon link if you want to. I can put that in the description box.
Honestly, I think you can go to LoriJeanFinnila.com and find it. Or you can just search my name. You're going to find a bunch of books that come up. But Lori Jean Finnila should bring up the podcast right away in the Audible podcast. So all right. I apologize. I don't have that on me that I can get it off the top of my head. But
that's okay. I can probably find it and put it down there. So anyhow, and Busy Ladies making another point, post her links in the Facebook group, please. Yeah, we can do that. And, if y'all are watching and you're not in our Facebook group, then I don't want to quite say shame on you, but I will say you need to trot over to our Facebook group and join us over there. It's Gayle Vlogs. That link is also down in the description box. So, but Lori, thank you again. And thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. Make sure you share this and watch the replay, y'all.
Yeah, I'll be sharing it. All right, thanks, Gayle, so much. I really enjoyed this. You take care of everything you do, people.
You too. And again, y'all, we are always about the hashtag Be Bodacious, which, as Lori demonstrated, you're not going to let life get in the way of living. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.